So I figured I would wrap up the last the last week or so, or the last couple months studying of religion. And when you study religion, you study the people in the religion. You study what makes them tick. You study how they respond to conflict. They study me too. I mean, I'm telling you, we need to study each other. This was probably how things happened way in the beginning, was the outsiders studied the indigenous population for a certain amount of time and then figured out when to actually confront. Some were very aggressive, others were not as aggressive. And so understanding how people think is so paramount. Understanding even how I think is paramount. And then you get to know yourself because you see yourself in others. When something triggers you, you know that's something that you see in yourself. And if you can't stop it in yourself or in the other person, then you have to walk away from that or find a way to purge it out. Okay? That's the thing about the JJ mentality, is you will see things in yourselves that you don't like. And at some point, your body must purge that out because it will destroy you. I mean, I learned a lot the last couple years going through all of my growth process and purging out the things that was plaguing me for years. And sometimes you do your own individual purge of those microbial overseers that are controlling your mind, like the alien on the face, or you change your associations, or you feed your mind something different. And so you're watching me purge, study, understand, adapt, assimilate, until you can't, and then you purge. Okay? Because you can't always change. You can't take that microbial overseer in your brain and try to stop it from doing what it's doing. It is what it is. So either it's going to take over your body, or you have to go and waterfall it out or blow it out. Like this morning, I was blowing my nose. I was coughing a lot this morning, and I was blowing my nose. Okay? You can't do that with a person. If you have a person in your life that is not what you feel like you're just not having an evolving relationship with, yeah, you could try to assimilate. And I've had instances over the last 30 years of my life where I would try to assimilate to whatever situation and then find out that I can't assimilate. And so instead of forcing a square peg in a round hole, I just walked away from the situations and the relationships. And that's called evolution. Evolution is where when you are stuck in conflict and you can't seem to change the situation, then it's purging. And sometimes purging means walking away. Okay? So this is like my journey, and you're watching me as it's going through. Because I must learn how people in religion, like what they think. What is it? And then I realized it's about deification, edification, and icons. Okay, these are the three words that I found that really that explained everything about religion and worship. And when I went through my newsfeed and I saw that they were building a statue of Huey P. Newton, a Black Panther from the 1960s, I'm like, oh wow. I mean, you fast forward to 2,000 years from now, and there's a new religion around Huey P. Newton, or whatever his last name is. That's how Jesus came up to be. If you fast forward anything from this point forward, even fast forward from here all the way to, let's say, the year 3000, and Martin Luther King, there's a whole religion around Martin Luther King. It started off small, and then it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then we have this whole world reset. We're watching the reset now. Before it was the Spanish and the Europeans and the Acadians and all that. And they've created this huge religion called Christianity. 1 billion people. And now we're seeing the tides have turned. I mean, even in America, we had the kickoff to understanding the other side of the coin. Okay, this is the whole black against white, but not really. We gave a lot of credibility to the Caucasian population and realized that there was a lot of racism that was an undercurrent. A lot of the skin color was a determining factor for discrimination. And so that got turned over on its side in the beginning of 2020, when you think about it. Not that we're discounting the 1960s and civil rights, but there were still undercurrents even since the 1960s. So 2020 was tearing down the statues, the icons, okay? But they were there for a reason. They were there to edify. They were there to educate the indigenous population. And so the Christopher Columbus, as horrible as his history may have been, he was first edifying the indigenous population, and then he was deified and turned into an icon. And did people really worship him? Yeah, I mean, we celebrate. All the holidays are like a worship. It's like a religion. No, it's not like something like 1 billion people are bowing down to statues and texts and all that stuff, but it's still type of a religion. So if you were to fast forward now to 2,000 years from now, and people still like Martin Luther King or Huey P. or whatever, that'd be like looking at Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ was like a rebel back in his day. He was totally deified. I don't even think he was really supernatural. People, I think, made him out to be supernatural, and the gods were a way to explain. I think there's advanced humans. Absolutely, there's advanced humans. There is definitely bioengineering. Atmospheres must be able to handle certain types of bioengineering. So if you see like a human flying, well, that's kind of weird, and the atmosphere must support that. So all these icons of the past and even of the present, they were just people who had a different idea, but they were deified. Somebody made them loved and somebody made them hated. I don't hate anyone of the past, anyone of the present, or anyone in the future. I acknowledge people's contribution. That's the thing, is the deification is you're going beyond acknowledging contribution. Now you are straight up worshiping and saying, okay, I am less than, you are more than, I have no possibility to ever be at your status. And that's the slave mentality, is having an icon. And so you've watched me the last couple weeks just really go in with both feet in understanding different religions. And the more aggressive religions are the ones that really actively go out and convert. Okay, I mean, the Mormon religion, Jehovah's Witness, nothing wrong with any of the people. It's the way the religion goes about acting as if they were edifying the population, but they have been edified themselves, but they have deified and stayed stuck in that religion. And as much as they would claim that they're very highly evolved, at some point, can we not deify people and just understand that, yeah, we can bring people up to a specific moral standard, an intellectual standard, and stop there without turning them into something to worship? That you also have the ability to be just as enlightened as Jesus. That it's not something that's out of reach, that, I mean, I could see why missionaries went into Haiti. It's not their business to go and try to edify Haiti. And I'm using this word left and right until I get it in my head. Okay? Because when you try to edify an indigenous population, you're going to be met with resistance. They want money. They want to be able to make it on their own without somebody overseeing them. It's like, I can't go in and do the jilly juice for people, but people want me to be there for them. Like I remember in the beginning, People wanted me to call them every day. If they paid me $75, they wanted to get the biggest bang for their buck. So what they did, they're like, okay, well, can you call me every single day? Or if I need you, will you be on call for me? And at first I was, and it was just draining the hell out of me. I'm like, oh my God, this is not what I signed up for. This is not what I expected. And so yeah, I mean, but you don't want, I mean, people that want that, you can easily exploit. But most people don't want to have somebody, overseeing them. You want to be able to just give this to someone, give them the opportunity, and then they can go do it themselves. And so when the indigenous population, like in Haiti, when their missionaries going in there and they don't want to be converted, they don't want to be at all anything like that, then they're going to use those missionaries as ransom pieces, like a ransomware, and they're going to try to get money. Because if they can't learn the stuff of the West because of all of their chaotic stuff, then they're just going to get whatever they can. And people have made themselves, available to be exploited. Okay, on both ends. I mean, look, there's poor missionaries, and they're out of Ohio. Go figure. Geez, ironic, is it? Not really. Ohio's very. Ohio has a lot of religion, a lot of Christians around in Ohio, a lot of Catholics. I'm in a lot of Catholic churches. It's crazy. And so I'm going to point out that what if in the future we didn't have to deify anyone that elevated social consciousness and gave people another awareness about who they are and about what could be possible for them? What if we didn't have to turn it into a love and hate? But then I could see why they did it. Because in order for you to get someone's attention so you can teach them, you almost have to be deified and make them love you and make them hate you. So there is some kind of attention put towards you, and then you can start putting down the information. And so maybe that's how it's done. Because if you didn't get someone's attention by saying something really outlandish or way out of their realm of possibility, they wouldn't pay attention to you. And I think that's part of the psychological operations that even I used and was aware of, because my mom used it too, where you do just, you get the attention, you create situations and you get confrontational. And the person either is going to hate you or love you, but if they really want to understand the information, no matter if they hate you or love you and stay away from you, they're going to remember what you said. And I used that tactic, I think, a few times. But I also was trying to create boundaries as well. So it was a twofold thing. So I think I understand the deification, because it does get people's attention to then edify them and bring them up to another level. And maybe all the different wars and the killings and the human sacrifice was to get the indigenous population's attention, so then you can civilize them. I don't know if that's the most correct way, but it was the most pragmatic way. Maybe that's what abuse is, but then it could backfire. You can spank a kid and get their attention, but if the kid doesn't learn by spanking, then you just beat them, then on some children, it will be, you won't get what you want out of them. Other kids, you will get what you want out of them. It won't even take the second spanking. It'll be just, my dog's the same way. I didn't realize that my dog is very sensitive. So in the beginning, I was trying to get her to do something, and I pat her little butt. She just yelped, and she yelped, and I'm like, oh my God. And I never, gave her a little swat on her butt ever again. And, and she's very amiable. You don't have to beat her at all. Okay, because she's a very sweet dog. Not that you would want to beat her, but some people do beat their dogs because their dogs have issues and the owner has issues. And so, yeah, the owner and the dog are just trading their issues back and forth. And it's a horrible situation. I've seen it. It sucks. So, but anyway, so maybe that's the reason why the deification, the human sacrifice, the wars, the torture, all that stuff were to get people's attention so you can bring them up to a specific level. Those that could be brought up to that level, they were brought up. You didn't have to torture them. You didn't have to do anything to them. Those that didn't want to be brought up to a certain level or be civilized or be evolved, then it was the resistance. And you're seeing it now. You know, we have the government, we have the global elite trying to evolve all of society, and they're met with resistance. And so when you're met with resistance, resistance asks to be abused. They ask to be having their body, mind, and spirit violated in some way, because they already have what they think is a violation anyways. And so no matter what, the government and anyone that they think is the enemy is going to violate those boundaries at some point, because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I could see why wars and torture and just very baser level aggressive violent instincts happen in religions. And it's the love and hate that support both, because it's a deification of a person, place, or thing, or an idea. But it's meant to edify. But people maybe become edified to a certain point, but they don't evolve. They just stay stuck in that religion, in that idea. And so, you know, I see even now with us trading, you know, one icon for another. You know, we have the statues from 2020, and we're taking down statues from hundreds and thousands of years. And so the pendulum will swing the other way, and we will iconicize and we will deify those of the civil rights, those of what happened in 2020. We will deify those that have changed society. And maybe in 2,000 years, it'll be a religion, another religion. And they will take away, you know, some of the old texts as something to worship and use as a tool, and new texts will be written. Okay, will I be using that to worship? No, I'm writing my own personal Bible when you think about it. I will acknowledge those of the past that contribute to humanity, but I will not worship anyone. But I will recognize that Jesus probably had some great things to say. Yes, there are some great quotes. No, it's different than Martin Luther King, Gandhi, any other of those, you know, Einstein. I mean, they are a dime a dozen. The deities of the past that contributed to the advancement of humanity are a dime a dozen. Some just have been more put out there as a tool for whatever. I mean, I'm thinking it's a tool of control more than other people. But then it depends on which area that you reside most in. If you're more on the religious side, then Jesus, Muhammad, Allah, or Moses, those will be your icons. Those will be the people that edified you. Okay, those people that you will deify. And if you are in the politics world, then it'll be like JFK, and it will be George Bush or Clinton or, I don't know, Trump. Okay, and so then if you are in the scientific world, it'll be Einstein, it'll be Copernicus, it'll be Galileo, it'll be Tesla. Okay, I mean, icons and deification from edification is a dime a dozen. It's not difficult to find, it's not difficult for a person to find something to worship. And they will trade from religion to politics to science, and they even fuse together. Okay, they even fuse together. And so right now you're just watch. Look, they're creating deities, like sacrificial deities, in the news. Look what happened with Alec Baldwin and what he did to that person. Okay, shooting that person allegedly by accident. The whole Gabby Petito and that Brian Landry, they have been thrusting their situation out there in the media as if, like, I mean, I feel bad for someone going through that situation, but the amount of coverage that's involved with these types of sacrifices, it's a little like, okay, definitely something of the past, Sumerian human sacrifice, and parading around using it as a way to get people to be like emotional. Trauma brings up love and hate, and from love and hate you start worshiping. And then you take that feeling and you transfer it to then either Biden or Trump or any other deity that they want you to worship. And that's how these deities came to be in written texts and pronounced in all of our historical references, because not only do they help create the foundation of the advancement of humanity, but it was bringing people up to a certain level. But some people stay stuck. And that's what I see in the politics, religion, and science, is people stay stuck in the binary driven arguments and allow those that know more than they do, because a person refuses to know more information, to manipulate them into reacting. And then it becomes a self-destruction, because people will then, when they only listen to Trump or Biden or Dr. Fauci or Jesus or Moses, then they won't understand all sides of an issue, and it becomes easy to manipulate and become the goddess or God in someone's world. And then you only listen to what they say and only follow what they do. And that gives room for exploitation. Then you can get someone to do chemotherapy. Oh, instead of feeding yourself, we'll just get you to do chemotherapy. And then the money, the resource extraction. I watch it. I watch it all the time on Facebook. It sucks. Because no one can look at my side of the story. And so when someone's dying from obesity and then they're getting bariatric surgery, or they have cancer and the only thing they know is chemotherapy, but they can't look at, okay, dealing with the pain, adding more a high sodium diet, feeding your body all food in the food supply. When your God is the medical system and the holistic system, and your God is Trump and Biden and all these different icons that are thrust before you on mainstream media, social media, then you won't look at all sides of the story. You will be so tunneled in your one-dimensional belief system because, oh, I revere someone with a college degree. I bow down to someone with a science degree. I bow down to someone with a medical degree. And so then they have only one side of the story. They don't tell you both sides of the story, because they don't know both sides of the story. So when you go to the medical system, you're getting one side. You're getting one aspect of the potential of you going into remission and reversing your shit. And so when you're only looking at one side of the story, then you're easily manipulated and highly exploitable, and then destroyed, which is the intention, because we are scaling down the population. We have too many people who are lost in deities, lost in worshiping icons. Though that's the intention of the system, because they want to control. But we have too many people worshiping different things, and then that's the chaos. That's the Tower of Babel in its most truest sense, is when you have a billion different religions saying that they know better, the word of God or the word of this or the word of that, and then intolerance, racism, and lack of understanding both sides of the story. Or all sides, not even the both sides. There's the third side of the story. You can have, the two sides, holistic versus allopathic, but they both hate salt. So the third story is, why is salt demonized by both the holistic and the allopathic? Oh, I don't know, maybe because it actually fucking works. But no, if you're iconicizing, or if you're, bowing in supplication to Dr. Fauci, and bowing in supplication to the medical system, and bowing in supplication to the holistic system, all the antibiotics and the naturopathics, you will never understand the power of salt. You will never understand the power of food. You will never understand the power of being autonomous and not always using your friends and family and the medical system and the holistic system and your religion and politics and science as a crutch. Oh, but it's easy to have them as a crutch, because you can be all fun and be cured and have fun for your 20 years and then go out with a bang like a freaking supernova, which I watch people do that all the time today. They ain't going to change. I don't want them to change. I mean, I want to give people the opportunity to change, but they got to want it themselves. So I just say, hey, I dropped the seeds, and so does the Freemasons. They said, if we're dropping seeds, we're giving you all the information on the internet. And now that is the Tower of Babel. And so do you have what it takes within you to figure out and differentiate between bullshit and actual facts? Then that's going to take now you taking the time. But oh no, drinking and smoking and doing all the things that are distractions, and denying the virus exists and denying whatever. And that's more important than prolonging your life and potentially reversing your situation. And immortality is maintaining existence. and you're not bowing to somebody else. You're realizing that you're the one that holds all the power, not somebody else. You hold all the power. Even if someone says, hey, you have to have mandatory vaccines, and you're against the vaccines. Okay, fine. Drink a few things of salt. Do a few waterfalls with the J juice. Yeah, you're going to have to deal with other stuff, but that will render that mRNA programming inert. It's not going to program you the way it was intended, because it's meant for people who are weak, who have a weak immune system. That's what these vectors are for, are the weak-ass people. So if you're a strong person, you understand the power of salt, you can still take the vector and be compliant with the government, and it wouldn't affect you the way it affects other people. Okay? Or the way you think it's going to affect you, based upon what you've seen in other people. I've had vaccines in the military. I've had vaccines in my childhood. I remember being in the hospital because my body was going through an evolution, and I had the worst headache. I mean, they thought I had a concussion. Most likely it was the evolution from adapting to a new culture and having to adapt to the new therapeutics to help me transition into this society. But I still survived, and I created the JJ mentality. You will survive any mandatory vectors if that is what's down the line. You don't have to go and try to resist it, because the more you resist it, the more it's going to persist, and you will be destroyed, because you'll use up energy that you could be taking to release the programming, to resist it, and then the virus kicks your ass anyways, because you have no idea the power of salt, you have no idea the power of food, the power of feeling symptoms, and the power of taking a fucking break. It's not always about making a shit ton of money. I understand you have bills to pay, but scale down your lifestyle then. So you can figure out how to balance out evolving if that's your intention. And then also at some point, you will make a lot of money in the future when you finally get your body recalibrated. Because the trucking industry and all these different industries out there will always be there. Though right now there's some shit going on as far as the ports and all that. And this is going to be an interesting winter. But I tell you, you know, the deifying, and I realized when they put me out there on Dr. Phil, I was being satanized. People were going to turn me into Satan. But that is the way our society is. They want you to love or hate somebody, because when you love and hate someone, it's easier to control them. That's exactly how our society is constructed. And once you realize that, then you will rise above your religion. You will rise above your political religion. You'll rise above your scientific religion, also known as dogma. Because no matter how much you change any type of recipe, it still has the same intention. Here's the thing with the J juice. You could use the pink salt. You could use the white salt. You could use whatever salt, though the white salt's more powerful. You could change the amounts of cabbage and kale, and you can do 2 cups versus 1 cup. I mean, it's very easy to modify. It still has the same intention. But you can modify certain aspects of the recipe. I don't want people doing that, because then I don't know what people are trying to do. There's a reason why it's 1 cup versus the 2 cups of cabbage. There's a reason why I changed from the pink salt to the white salt. But but even when you modify the recipe, the intention is still the same. The outcome, the outcome is questionable based upon each body. But the intention is the same. So even if you take a religion and you have now a new guru around the religion, a new age Christian or new age Judaism or new age Catholicism or whatever, it's all the same stuff. Just because you changed a few components of it doesn't make it any different. It still has the same intention. You want someone to worship somebody else. You want to recruit. You want to get an organization. It has a 501c3, and then it's all about control. You can control someone through their religion. You can control them through the freaking politics. You can control them through the science. You can control them through anything. So that's why they want people to vote, because it's no different than saying, oh, yeah, I go for Jesus. No, I go for Allah. I go for this. I vote for this. Oh, I vote for this. And keep people out like this. And so Trump was put out there to be the demon. And then Biden was out there to be the Jesus. So you see how the whole Satan versus Jesus is already out there in politics? It's a trip. You're like, holy crap. And the same thing with the pro-vax and the anti-vax. Oh, the pro-vaxxers are Satan and vice versa, right? And the anti-vaxxers are Satan and vice versa. Each is pointing each other. Oh, you're Satan. Oh, you're Jesus. Oh, you're Satan. Oh, I mean, it's endless when you have that binary-driven arguments. And that's all over the world. That's not even in America or in the West. It's all over the world. The good versus evil. The shamans that are like, oh, ward away evil spirits. What makes them evil? Evil is all relative. What makes a thing evil? Oh, because the person feels something. That's called evolution, and you're not feeding your body. So why are you trying to ward away evil spirits when they could actually be evolution that you weren't aware how to deal with it? That's all over the world. And it's in indigenous populations because they don't want to feel pain of evolution. And so guess what? They have these shamans that have all this medicine stuff and blow smoke in the face and do all this stuff and think that, you're warding away evil. You're just antibioticizing somebody. That's all you're doing. So I see now that even the bigger picture of it all, and watching it right now happen before me with the erection of a statue of Huey P. Newton from the Black Panthers. Oh, wow. When they put up Thomas Jefferson, or, as a statue, or other generals of the past, it was worship. We worship the dollar bill. We worship money. We worship Washington. We worship Lincoln. I mean, there's big, huge memorials and statues and things and the monument. I mean, worship is everywhere. I will acknowledge everyone that has contributed to humanity, but I will not worship any mere mortal. All of you have the capacity to be evolutionary and contribute, but the fact that you're not, because you've been put in a very specific predisposition. And when biotech constructs and scares people away from salt and food, then people are at a deficit. And they can only rise so high in their profession, in their thought process. People hit a wall because of their deficits. And it's biotech driven. It is belief system driven. It is political, religious, scientifically driven to keep people at a very certain station. And so I'm telling you guys, you do not have to be stuck in the station that you're in, but you have to do the work. You have to evolve. At some point, you have to evolve. They got your attention, deifying, and you're all praying to whatever, and they got you to be edified. They rose your intellectual moral compass so you're not, in chaos killing people and destroying people, or you go to jail. But then they've turned the things that you have honored as a pathway to your development into an icon. And then people stop. They just stop. As soon as they see that icon, or they realize that's the icon that edified them and they've deified, then they stop evolving. And then it's about how are they going to dress up and manipulate their icon and spread it around the world. And that's called the missionaries. That's called converting people. That's called recruitment and then conversion. And then you put yourself in position like those northeastern Ohioans out of my area over there in Haiti. You're putting yourself in the lion's den because you think you're all knowing. And you're in an indigenous population who says, I'm tired of you trying to convert me. We remember what happened in Christopher Columbus. Whether it's Christendom or whether it's Christian, I don't care what you call it. I don't care how you want to put lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig. The intention is to convert somebody. The intention is to make them feel that what they believe in and what they're doing is bad, wrong, or indifferent. You're not giving them tools on how to do stuff. You're telling them what to believe. You're not teaching them how to pull themselves up their own bootstraps. You want to convert them into a religion and get them into a church so they can give money to you. But you're not teaching them how to grow crops or help, and if you are, and they're resisting it, then you get the hell out. There, you have no place to be in a place where people are not taking in your recommendations to help them become level. Missionaries don't have the intention to really help the people that they're going after. They're trying to gain resources. And so you have to allow people now to rise up in their own bootstraps. We try to do it for 20 years in Afghanistan, and look where it got us. They try to do it in Vietnam. Look where it got them. I'm here, thank God. But how many soldiers were killed during that process? So there's a lot of different ways you can look at what goes on. People can say it's a human sacrifice thing. It's a way to get on the population, get into all these wars. It's also trying to spread, consciousness to the world too. And we try to do with the Jews. We were acting just like missionaries. We go on other people's pages and start trolling. I did the same thing. It's no different than going into another country and start trolling and say, hey, you shouldn't do this. You should do this. You're not being really an example. But then, but what happens, I guess, when you do that is then people start lobbing grenades at you. Is there a way to show and be an example? And then somebody takes on that example. They're like, oh, wow, I want to do this. But then there's always people out there that want to control. There's always despots that want to control. There's always some kind of, I don't know, like a Hitler or some of these leaders in other places that want to destroy. They want to control people and destroy them at the same time. They want to genocide. Well, like the Taliban, that's what they're doing. I just read somewhere that the Taliban just beheaded a soccer player, the ones that left Afghanistan, one of the family members. Nothing you can do. You got to let it happen. You can't, you got to let it happen. There's nothing that we can do. It's going to be survival of the fittest in the most indigenous countries, and we can't go in and save. We are thankful here in America and in the West and other countries that we are a bit more civilized, that we are doing these a bit more civilized. Though, yeah, there's certain practices that I don't agree with, that I will say I don't agree with, but I am damn lucky that I'm here. Okay, I am damn lucky that I'm here. I don't agree with the chemotherapy and all that stuff, but I also know that people make their choices, that they've been given all the information and they still make their choices. Then that's the way our society is constructed, that people iconicize something and they don't look at the bigger picture. Well, then take that macro level out to the other countries and they're not looking at the bigger picture, or they were withheld the bigger picture, like in North Korea. But you can't do anything about it. That's not for us to go and save. People have to save themselves. The despots, if they kill all their people, then they have no one to rule. So they have to keep people alive. But then it's the draconian stuff. It's the torture. But then they have their methods to keep people under control, just like we do. We have methods too to keep people under control. Maybe it's not as draconian as over there in the Taliban or North Korea. But maybe it is, because we've done waterboarding. We've done stuff in Guantanamo Bay. We're not exactly 100% innocent in all of that. Okay? And so I want you guys to see all the bigger picture and step out of the war and save yourselves. Stop trying to save other people. Stop trying to, I can't tell you not to, but if you want to stick around and see what the future is going to become, you got to save yourself. You got to understand how the past was constructed and how religion came about to begin with. The gods were not immortal. They weren't anything that special, except that they gave us information that we didn't have, that we now have, and we don't have to go and worship. I have grandparents and great-grandparents in Vietnam. I have no idea who the hell they are. Am I going to go worship someone I don't even know who it is? But I know I came down a line of people, a genetic line. But I have no idea who they are. So there's no reason for me to worship someone from the past. I just live for now and the future. I can acknowledge the past. I thank, my adoptive parents for giving me this opportunity. It was difficult, but I'm not going to worship them. I've thanked them. I am thankful for them bringing me here and giving me the opportunity. And that's as far as it goes. There's no worship going on. They gave me the ability to have the life. I could have died in Vietnam. My original parents, my biological parents, gave me the option. They gave me life. Am I going to go worship them? No. I will thank them and be very honored that I was able to be into this world. But I'm not going to go and worship them. Okay? So if someone in the past gave people the opportunity to live, that's great. Now you can evolve and start, innovating. If you can only go to a certain capacity and be a food service worker and you're happy with it, by all means, go work at McDonald's and be happy working at McDonald's. Everyone loves someone that's happy with their station. When you're not happy with your station, that's when you need to evolve. That's the whole point of the JJ mentality, is those are not happy with their station. It's because you have microbial overseers that blocked you from rising to another level, whether it's in body, mind, and spirit. Because some people are at deficits. They have heart issues. They have lung issues. They have autoimmune disorders. They have the capacity to do things, but their body is stopping them from actually doing it. Maybe that doesn't have to be. That's all I'm saying. And it's not about being in a cured state. And that's the thing. I don't want people being in a cured state either. Some people have a lot longer to go. And so every single time they get relief from something, every single time they get more mobility, they're like, oh my God, this is so amazing. But yes, relish those small wins. The real test is reversing the aging process. The real test is staying youthful and dealing with the viral variants without it being like, oh, this is such a horrible thing. Okay, I felt the heat the last couple of days. I coughed this morning. That was it. But some of you have a long way to go, and so it's going to be, for you, it's going to be torturous. And so you're going to welcome all the things that gave you relief. But do not stay stuck in that. That's the lack of evolution, is that these icons like Jesus and Allah and all these different movers and shakers of the past gave people relief, and then people stay stuck in that relief. They didn't want to evolve. And so instead of saying, okay, we're going to just find every way possible to stop a disease and do transhumanism, why not figure out why the disease happened to begin with? Oh no, they got stuck in the cures. People get stuck in Jesus. They get stuck in Allah. They get stuck in Einstein. They get stuck in all these different, these different icons of the past, and they don't evolve. And then that's the same thing with the JJs. People get stuck in the JJs and they don't evolve. They get stuck in the cure. And I can see that in the religious folk. I can see that is what's going to happen in some of the, I already see it in one religious folk. And someone else that was in my group that had issues with eating food. And she went back to her religious people, and she's taking apple cider vinegar and prebiotics. Because she was looking for a cure. She was not looking to evolve. She just wanted to do what she could do that she couldn't do before. And that's what's going to happen when people have been maintaining some major issues, and they see some kind of relief because of the JJs, because salt is a cure. This is where people will stay stuck, because they cannot fathom being in that much pain ever again. And you have to go through it. You keep doing JJs. I mean, if you already done the waterfalls a few times, you don't need to be doing them anymore. Now you need to deal with the viruses that are coming through and the food supply. So I know people are going to be staying on JJs for a while because it's curing them in this state, and then they can make their beliefs in their religions that much more pronounced, whether it's Trump, whether it's in America. So I already see it. I get it. I recognize it. And so I did a major studying of people's thought processes in their religion and why they will never give it up. It's better to be in a cured state, worshiping something else, than taking responsibility for yourself, because you want to be in a cured state instead of evolving. Evolution is where the crutch that you've had for millions of years, you let it go. If you can't let go of your crutches, forget it. You won't evolve. All right, bye.